This might come as a surprise to many, but Japanese marathoners are making a mockery of us in the West. In this video, I'm returning to the race where last year I ran my half marathon PB of 65:27, a time fast enough to podium in most races in the UK. But in Japan, dream on, buddy. I was left trailing behind in 135th place, which begs the question, why are Japanese runners so much faster than Westerners? Let's delve into the secrets of these marathon machines. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. What is this guy on about? Japan? We all know about Kenya, Ethiopia, but I've never heard of a quick Japanese runner. I'm sure there's some people that are calling bullshit on me right now. Like, dude, Japan can't possibly be better than the United States. We got so many incredible athletes. What's this guy talking about? So, for those of you doubting me, I've come with the cold, hard stats. You can't argue with that. So we're talking long distance here, all right? Half marathon, marathon, the proper stuff. What actually matters? So we're going to take a 2:10 marathon. That's a big barrier, an elite time. I'd say if you're under that, then you can call yourself a pro. But in Japan, they make it look like child's play. There's been over 200 runners in total go under 2:10 in history. Now let's compare that to the UK. We have only had 22. And with America, it's slightly harder to find the stats. They don't seem to have a para 10 like in the UK. But from what I calculated, it seems like about 34 Americans. So it's not even close. Japan are absolutely destroying us over the marathon, us Westerners. All right, so maybe Japan win in the marathon department, but surely over the half marathon are not as good. Wrong, they're even better. And I think this race today is a perfect example of that. So last year I ran my PB here, 65:27, a respectable time. And that would have placed me right up there in any European race, American race. But in this one race in Japan, I was 135th. There's absolute swarms of runners in front of me. I came, I saw, and I was conquered. It was the very first race I did in Japan, and it was a baptism of fire. But what a way to kick things off, and it made me realize, geez, this is legit. I've come to the right place. Now, that time last year put me about 50th in the UK overall for the whole of 2023. But in that one race in Japan, I wasn't even close. And you think how many other races there are? This is just one little race that we've picked out. And what makes it even more impressive, most of the runners are actually students as well. So this begs the question, why? What makes them so much quicker? And that's what we're going to discuss today. But first, I need to get my warm-up on because I'm running in just over an hour. So today is the Ageo City Half Marathon, and it's probably one of the best half marathons in the world. Easily one of the deepest. It's just a stream of runners. Like, you jump on the train and you go out ridiculously hard and just see how long you can hold on, which is basically what happened last year. I ran my PB, but it was a painful way to do it. But today won't be a PB attempt. This is just a marathon type effort. So I'm using it as a training session. Like, it's a fun race to join in with, and I thought it'd work perfectly. So the aim would be to do 16K at target marathon pace, around 3:10 to 3:15. And then if I've got something left in the tank, pick up the last 5K and bring it home strong. Because we're only 2 weeks out from Fukuoka. This is one of the last kind of big sessions that we'll do. So coming into it heavy legged, another 250K week, back to back now. And last night I had a shocking sleep. Had the worst reflux, like after dinner yesterday, after my run, just like burning through my throat. And I couldn't sleep for ages. So I ended up getting like 3-4 hours, something like that. Feel absolutely exhausted today. I actually still got a bit of the reflux, like that acid just sitting in my throat. So I'm quite looking forward to just getting this one done and then going back to bed. All right, I've done the warm-up. My right Achilles is absolutely killing me. Pretty sore, and the reflux I was talking about, that pain in my chest, it's getting worse, like burning all the way down. I'm in a great place right now, but I'm hoping just both of those ease off as we get going. Get a bit of adrenaline in the system. You see, the start is absolute chaos. I remember last year it took me like 10 seconds to get through. I just managed to dodge like this massive pile up, bodies everywhere. through the first K in about 3:15. Just trying to settle into a comfy pace now. Find that marathon pace. Looks like a nice little pack here. Going about 3:10. YouTube. Yeah, courage is on. Yeah, it's a great thing. Yeah. Right, just gone through 8K and I'm completely fucked. Way more like flat out half marathon effort today than actual marathon pace. I think this could get a little messy towards the end. Let's go ahead, go on boy. Right, official 10K split, 32:26. Kept it steady-ish, but it's getting very hard now. Apart from a stitch, pain in my Achilles, reflux, and just being completely fucked, this race is going great. I love running. Never thought I'd be kicking home to try and tip 70, and that was flat out. That was not a marathon effort. Jeez, probably the worst race of my life. I don't think I've ever been in that much pain that early in a race. I'm just plodding a warm down right now. Oh God, that was so rough. Just mentally trying to get through that when my body was shutting down on me and I still had about an hour to go in the race. It's never a good sign. I mean, compared to last year, 4 minutes slower, and that was effectively a flat out effort, the best I could possibly do on the day. I guess I'm a 69-minute half marathon runner now. God, I've really started my YouTube at the wrong time. Should have started it a year back when I was in my best shape. But at least that race perfectly illustrated my point that Japanese runners are ridiculous. Serious talent here. So I've got to finish off this warm down, this slow plod, and then we can actually talk about why I think the Japanese are so much better than Westerners.
So after the race, it was good fun. I actually ended up hanging out with a bunch of foreigners. We stick together in Japan, us outsiders. But there was Ed Goddard, who ended up finishing third, and he dipped under 62, which is mad. So huge run from him. And he is the most unorthodox guy I've ever met. It was the first time I met him. He's so chill and just so un-Japanese in kind of everything he does, like the whole order, the structure. He rocks up, nearly misses the train to even get to the race, like barely gets there in time, and then goes and knocks out a PB, hangs with the top Japanese guys. So I guess he's breaking the mold. He's proven that Westerners can hack it, but the Japanese just have that depth there. And then another guy, Jacob, who I've been following for ages on Strava, and we met up this week for a run. A great guy, and he smashed it as well. He ran 63:19, but that was only quick enough for 29th, as if that time is getting 29th in this race. So the level is just different. But from living in Japan for a year and training with different Japanese runners, going to different races, learning about the kind of culture, the running scene here, I wanted to talk about why I think they are so quick. So starting off with body shape. All right, Japanese guys are so light and so skinny and quite short as well. So they're built perfectly for distance running. Compared to us Westerners, we're carrying a fair bit of extra meat, even following that Japanese diet since moving here. But the guys that I'm training with, they're just naturally 50 kg or even under, whereas I have to kill myself to get down to like 65. Just genetically, we are bigger, carrying some extra muscle, which I think probably helps the shorter distances. It's why we're good at like 800, 1500, but as you got the distances, it makes such a difference carrying that extra bulk, which the Japanese guys just don't have. The next one is the training. So I've talked about this before. I'm not going to go into loads of detail, but obviously the big mileage, they love it out here. They're marathon machines, smashing 1,000k a month, and especially from a young age, it's way more common to be on big mileage. Whereas in UK and America, we kind of tend to baby people, I think, a little bit more. Maybe it is safer because I know a lot of Japanese guys do burn out or get injured, but the ones that can hack it, having such a big base from young just sets you up so well for the half marathon and marathon. And I think if you look at the best British runners back from like the 90s, the 80s, and I'm sure it's the same in America, they were on that big mileage. They were smashing it. And for some reason, we've gone through a sort of dip. And I think it is now coming back up. People are realizing, yeah, mileage is important. The next big one is just opportunities for distance runners. So with these corporate teams in Japan, you've got about 1,000 guys that can go close to full time. Like maybe they're doing a couple hours work a day. Apart from those few guys in each country in the West who are actually full-time athletes, most people are trying to get by working full-time jobs, 40 hours a week, which doesn't sit too well with marathon training. So just being supported by these Jitsu Godan corporate teams is a massive factor here. And that so many guys that are at that kind of 63, 64 minute half marathon level can then commit to the running by joining these teams instead of having to like get a full-time job, that then can take that next step and push on to even quicker marathon times. And then the final big one is almost a whole factor in itself, the Hakone Ekiden, the biggest race in the world, the most watched race. I'm gonna do a full episode on that in the new year. It's gonna be sick, but it's actually such a fun race. The whole of Japan gets behind it. It's massive long distance relay that I've mentioned before in previous videos, and that is half marathon distance. So you've got uni guys, instead of training for 1500 or 5k, they're going straight up to the half marathon because they want to compete in Hakone. God, the YouTube algorithm is mad. It's crazy who it's pushing it to. So I was just strolling along, finishing up this video, and I bumped into someone who lives right nearby, this guy from Switzerland, who said he'd watched the videos. He'd just been getting into running and my videos had popped up. So YouTube's been suggesting it to the right people. Early at the race, loads of Japanese people were coming up. The channel's tiny, we're only just getting started, but I've got to start practicing my signature, the autograph. We're hitting the big stage. But this has been Ran to Japan. Until next time, train harder, not smarter.